Shalom, brothers and sisters. So let's catch everyone up on all the latest news post the attack of Iran against Israel. The biggest aerial attack in human history of this kind. Drones, missiles, the lot. Absolute insanity. And the level at which they were stopped, 99% accuracy shoot down, is unheard of. Miraculous God intervention situation. There's even testimonies coming out from scientists in Israel saying how crazy it is, and it makes no sense that everything worked that well. Everybody came together as one man. How does that happen? That happens because God, and because prayer, and because he is not slack concerning his promises or his protection. So let's look at the latest headlines. Iranian activist slams pro-Palestinian protesters for supporting Hamas. She criticized the protesters and supporters of Iran's Islamic regime amid recent bombings of Israel, saying they're supporting a terrorist regime. You're supporting the terrorist regime that the Iranian people have been trying to free themselves from for 45 years. This is not where the story began, and this is not where the story ends. Lebon said during an appearance on News Nation's Q&A. This is not a new feud, it's a decades-long feud. All right, so very important to see people that are really from the area speaking and what they're saying. It reminds us that not all Iran is Iran. Not all Iranians are like the Ayatollahs. Not all South Africans hate Israel. It's not how we gauge people. There are people that are pro-Israel and pro-change in these countries. Exiled Crown Prince of Iran demands regime change after the Israel attack. This isn't our war, it's Khomeini's war. Now we know the exiled Crown Prince lives in America, biding his time, waiting for an opportunity to go back. He's been in Israel a couple of times. He's even been at the wall. He has good relationship with Israel. So it would be a really good change to see him back in power. The exiled Crown Prince of Iran accused the Biden administration Sunday of appeasing the Iranian supreme leader after Iran's unprecedented attack on Israel, and urged global leaders to support the Iranian people, calling for an end to the Islamic Republic regime. From Tehran to Tel Aviv, from Hamadan to Haifa, Iranians and Israelis know that this is not the Iranian people's war. This is Ali Khamenei, the dictator of the brutal regime's war, Reza Pahlavi said during his appearance on Sunday night in America. Moscow, obviously, Putin never missing an opportunity, pledged fighter jets and air defenses to Iran amidst the conflict. Russia has been supplying weapons and knowledge to Iran as they head into war. The Kremlin is escalating a strategic alliance between the two nations. The deals have seen drones and anti-aircraft weapons delivered to Tehran. The nature of their relationship, now this is interesting, has gone beyond just getting things from each other. There's now knowledge transfer and intangible gains because they are part of an alliance biblically that will come against Israel in the last days. Russia has vowed to support Iran with air defense technology and advanced fighter jets, particularly as it is facing the possibility of counterstrikes from Israel in the wake of its halted attack on Tel Aviv last week. Arab nations, including Saudi Arabia and the UAE, aid Israel in successful defense against Iranian attacks. Saudi official blames Iran for starting the Gaza war to stop normalization with Israel. So here we see Saudi positioning themselves as the forefront or the leaders of a potential peace agreement and a normalization across the Arab world with the nation of Israel. Kind of like a person that would be needing to come from somewhere to make a peace agreement, to appease all of the Arab nations and the Muslims, bring them together into an agreement, binding them possibly for a week, 7 years into normalization with Israel. And now Saudi is saying Iran is putting these things at risk. So that's interesting, because now you've got to look at Saudi and say, who's the leader or who's the outspoken, amazing man here? And we come back to Mohammed bin Salman again, which we'll touch on at a later stage. Former Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett, it's time for Israel and the West to make Iranian regime pay deeply painful price. The goal, Bennett says, should be bringing down the wicked regime in Tehran once and for all. I'll be clear, he says, if these crazy, fanatic Islamic terrorists get away with murder by hiding among civilians, this method will be adopted by terrorists worldwide. Now, this is something America, Europe, Australia, other countries do not want to think about or admit to themselves, but it's true. They're already in your countries, they're already well placed, and this same tactic they're using in Israel can be used against you in your own nation very soon. And this is what keeps getting highlighted by Israel to the rest of the world. Iranian proxies are stunned by the humiliating defeat. US House Majority Leader tells Netanyahu he supports Israel's retaliation for an Iranian attack. Majority Leader Steve Scalise spoke to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on the phone on Monday and said he supports any action Israel may decide to take in retaliation for Iran's attacks. The White House calls Iran attack spectacular, embarrassing failure. A presidential advisor denied reports that Washington had forewarning of the attack and said the administration continues to oppose a standalone aid package for Israel. The White House continued to push back against media reports that Iran gave Washington advance warning of its Saturday night attack, calling the reports ludicrous and the attack an embarrassing failure. Iranians anxious now as Israel weighs strike response. Iran's leaders warned they would respond to any Israeli retaliation by escalating further, potentially triggering more attacks. Based on the results of their last attack, it's not really very threatening anymore. Iran shuts nuclear facilities and cancels inspections amidst fear of Israeli attack. Seems very brave of them, don't you think? Iran vows to strike Israel with weapon never used before. Now that's interesting. Iranian security chief Abolfazl Amoui last night warned that if Israel responds, Tehran is prepared to use a weapon that we have never used. It is unclear what weapon Amoui was referring to, but he warned Israel to act wisely as it considers its next steps. So two ways to look at this. It's a hectic weapon that they would be using, or it's as useless as the first batch they just launched at Israel and might just fail and end up falling in Iran. The problem with that being that the innocent Iranians and those who have no beef with Israel are going to be the ones on the receiving end of this amazing weapon that's never been used. So as you can see in the cumulative news just from the last 24 to 48 hours, chaos reigning in that part of the world, an embarrassing defeat for Iran, even among its proxies, so it's lost a lot of face. Russia's played her hand and her card, showing she 100% stands behind Iran. That alliance is watertight, along with China, North Korea, all those countries that are coming together for that next war that's going to come against Israel. So those things we see forming. We also see the allies are still supporting Israel, even if they don't really want to get their hands dirty. And everyone is stressed about what Israel's next moves are. And apparently the cabinet, the Knesset, has already decided. They've already spoken with the war group. They've all made their decisions, so it is prepared. When it will happen, though, depends on Netanyahu saying, yes, go for it. And at this stage, I'm concerned that he might still be bowing to pressure from Biden and holding back instead of showing strength right now, shrugging off what the world thinks about them and doing what needs to be done. This is a time to show strength. So we'll see now in the next 24 hours what happens and what the result is. In the meantime, all we will keep doing is praying for Israel, praying for the peace of Jerusalem, praying for all affected, from Gaza, to Israel, to Iran, to Iraq, to Yemen, to everywhere where people still are innocently caught up in this madness that is spreading and burning like a fire through the Middle East and affecting the world, because this affects trade, it affects lives, it affects oil prices, it affects everything. And there is a ripple effect just building all the time until this tinderbox explodes. And we're praying that more and more people come to the saving grace and knowledge of Jesus Christ and realize that he wants a personal relationship with them and can change their lives while there is still time. So shine your light, pray for Israel, and keep looking up. Shalom.